So I work 7 days a week because I can. Not because I have to, and definitely not because I love to, but because the algorithm has made it impossible for me to stop. Well, that is the Uber effect. And it is not just rideshare driving, it's actually all the gig companies. They're basically rewiring our brain to work ourselves to death. If you guys even thought about it like that, well, like and subscribe. Let's get into this episode. I'm gonna break down what I'm calling the Uber effect and why this gig economies are basically making us work more. So you might be thinking, well, you could sign off when you want. You could sign on when you want to. It's flexible. Well, that's part of the gimmick, and that's part of how they rewired us. It's that whole limitation, that safety regulations where, you can only work 12 hours and then you have to take a 6-hour break. But if you guys watched one of my older episodes where I showed you that to work 12 hours, you're actually working more like 14, maybe 15 hours. So honestly, you can work almost 18 hours a day without actually having to take a break. Or if you take a break, you could work 18 hours. But honestly, if you think about it, you could really work 24/7, because you could work 12 hours with Uber and then you can work 12 hours with Lyft. So yeah, you have to take a break from one gig, but it doesn't mean you don't have to take a break from the other. Then you still got DoorDash, you still got Instacart, you still got Amazon Flex. You can literally work 24/7, 7 days a week. And honestly, if you really sit back and think about it, have you ever had a job where you worked that much, or you were even allowed to work that much? Definitely not. I remember when I used to wait tables, I used to pick up a lot of shifts. I used to work a lot. I worked 2 jobs. I'd work at the restaurant at nighttime. I'd work at like a liquor store during the daytime. I like to work. I like to make money. Well, I would get a lot of people that would literally, hey, text me, hey, do you want to work tonight? Do you want to work tonight? All the time on my days off, they would be like, hey, do you want to work tonight? And I could decide if I wanted to work more. But there was always going to be those days where literally I couldn't pick up a shift. I couldn't work because I was in overtime. And there was always something to where I literally, after say maybe 10 days straight, I'd have to take a day off. But with Uber and Lyft and all these other gigs, all these other gig companies, that's almost unheard of. You can literally work every single day, all day, no matter what. You can literally multi-app yourself to death if you wanted to. But now that I'm doing Uber and Lyft and all these rideshare gigs, I actually have no time. I got no social life. I got no girlfriend, and I got nothing. The only time I have is driving, filming, and actually going to the gym. Besides that, I'm sleeping if I'm not doing school. But I have a little bit more than just the gigs. Otherwise, I'd be driving more. Because back before I started doing YouTube and I started going to school and I started doing all that, I was driving 2,000 miles a week. I was doing Uber every single day, never take a day off. I wasn't always working 12 hours, but I was working a lot of hours. But I was making more money because back then Uber paid more money. But I didn't realize that Uber was slowly rewiring my brain to literally work. I would get text messages when I would be like, I'm not going to work today. I know it's slow. It's a Tuesday. It's one of the days I feel like, I'm just take the day off. Then I'd get a reservation. I'd get a little request. Somebody, hey, there's a reservation. And it would be a tempting offer. So I'd be like, what? I'll just go do a few rides, steal my day off, but at least I made my gas money. And then I'd end up take another ride. Next thing you know, I done work 6, 7, 8 hours. That was supposed to be my day off. But that's how these gig companies are rewiring our brain. And I'm going to break it down some more for you guys and explain some of the psychological manipulation tactics that they use to get us to keep taking one more ride. So what they also like to do is they like to gamify the app. So they like to give you quests, they like to give you goals, they like to give you, with Lyft too, with the earnings goals. Uber tries to give you quests, Lyft tries to give you quests. They try to gamify it. They even started off with these badges when you report there's traffic or there's a cop or all that. But those badges don't even give you any type of monetization or anything. All they do is give you, oh, you got this badge, but I don't even think I could see if you have a badge. I don't think the passenger can see if you get a badge. And it's the same way with the tier levels, with the diamond, with the gold. I remember telling passengers when I used to brag about, hey, I'm a diamond driver back when I first started, and they would be like, what's a diamond? Like, they didn't even know I was a diamond driver. Only recognition I got as a diamond driver was from when I'd call customer support and they'd be like, thank you for being a diamond driver, only because they were reading off a script. But they gamify the app to make you feel like you're getting stuff in order to keep you playing the game. I mean, if it's like a game, you're used to playing games, you're going to keep playing the game. And the game they want you to play, take that one more ride. One more ride. Try to reach this goal. Same way with quests. You know why they do quests in such a time period? You got to do so many rides in between 72 hours. Because it's the weekend, they know more likely you might take off, but a lot of people are off work. They're going to be out drinking. They're going to be doing this. There might be concerts, whatever. The weekends are usually busier because people are off work, so they're going to go out and do stuff. So they're going to order an Uber because they're going to go drinking. So they want you to be on the road. Well, then sure, you're on the road. They came out with the idea of quest. Well, quests sometimes are good. Most of the time they're not. But if you're still out driving, it's not a bad bonus. But the problem is they manipulate you with that algorithmic squeeze. So basically, you're only like 4-5 rides away from completing that quest, and it's Sunday night, and you've been driving for like 6 hours. You've been driving all weekend trying to complete this quest, but you only got like 5 more rides. And you literally got like what, $100, $150, $200, whatever. It's actually a decent quest. So you're like really trying to get that bonus because you're like, man, I could really use it. I actually made a good bit of money, but that'd be a good little boost. But you only need 5 more rides. What do you get? Every ride seems to be this long trip from the airport to Gainesville, or this long trip to Palm Coast. But all the rides got to start in Jacksonville, so you can't really take it. But then you're like, I don't want to miss out on that money. Then you come all the way back. You got to drive to Jacksonville. Then you got to start another ride because those rides have to initiate in Jacksonville or your area in order for it to count towards that quest. So you take that long ride because it's good money. Then you drive back. Now you're kind of tired, but you're offline. You still got plenty of time to drive around, but literally you've been driving for a long time today. You've been driving all weekend. Yeah, you made some money, but yeah, you're tired. Normally you would quit at this point, but then you're like, I only got 4 more rides. So then what do they do again? The next ride's a long ride across town. It's like a 30-minute ride. It's not too much money, but it's not too little money. But at the same time, it's a long trip. You're sitting there kind of hope, I wish I would just get somebody that would stop here and stop there real quick. One of those little quick trips. Can I just get 4 of those so I can go home? No, you get sent a multi-stop trip. Now you get this long all the way across town trip. Then you get this other trip where you got to drive 15 minutes to pick them up, and then it's just a couple miles down the street. But it just seems like those 4 rides turn into like 4 hours. And you're like, literally, I could do 4 rides in 30 minutes on a Friday night. But that's the problem, is they try to algorithmic squeeze. They try to squeeze every little bit of ride out of you to almost where you don't complete that quest so they don't have to pay you. But then you, if you want to complete that quest, they get the most out of you they can to actually make you earn that money. And that's part of the gamification, and that's part of why they offer quests. They offer goals, earnings goals to keep track of. So you're like, oh, well, you almost made your $1,000 this week. Why don't you just do a couple more rides? You're only $40 away from it. All that is manipulation to get you to work more. And I'm going to explain some steps for you guys to try to keep track of stuff and actually try to pay attention to all these different tactics they use so that you can actually know when to take a break, and actually just not log on. Because sometimes, as hard as it is, it's almost hard not to log on and go do some rides. No matter how many miles you got on your car, no matter how much money you got, you're still like, you know what, that's a good ride, I want to take it, or I'm missing out on this. Or you look open the app and you see all these surges everywhere and you're like, dang, it's super busy over there. Maybe I should go get that $15 surge. Well, that's all part of the manipulation, and that's all part of the tactics that they use to try to keep you on the road. Because always remember, the longer you're on the road, the more money they make. You might make some money, but the longer you're driving, the more money they're definitely making. And one more thing I wanted to touch on was that exploitation cycle. That's the whole manipulation, the gamification, and that flexibility, and the surge scarcity. Well, they'll just have surges pop up in your app to make you feel like, oh, I want to go work because there's such good surges around. And then as soon as you get there, they all disappear. And I'm not saying because you didn't catch it, you didn't do the technique right, but just because literally they had them on there to tempt you to go, you start driving around, they disappear, and then now you're like, well, I'm already over here, so I might as well work. But that whole flexibility that they try to advertise, well, hey, come drive with us. It's flexible. It's a great part-time job. You can start when you want. You can stop when you want to. But really, can you? I don't know. The longer you do these apps, the longer you drive for Uber and all this, the longer you will see people complain and complain and complain, but they still drive. They still sign on. Why? It's almost madness. And you know what? I'm bad about it too, even though I haven't driven as much as I used to because of the fact I'm doing other stuff. I still honestly always check the app. I always get these messages. I always accept reservations. I literally drive every day, whether I drive as much as some of you guys or not. Probably not, because of other stuff I'm doing. And then I feel like, you know what? I didn't drive enough today. I need to make more money. And it's not even just about the money sometimes. It's just about, I feel like, you know what? I should be driving more. I should be driving more. But why? At the same time, why? Why do I need to still be out on the road? Why do you still need to be out on the road? Why are we working ourselves to death? Why are we letting them manipulate us? And why are we letting them use us pretty much to do whatever they want us to do by just offering this and that, and we fall for it? It's almost like an addiction to a drug that we just can't quit. So let me give you guys some little tips and some techniques and stuff that maybe will help you guys recognize some of this stuff and learn when to log off. And also leave some comments below. I want to know, do you guys take a break? Do you take days off? What days do you take off? How do you work a certain amount of hours? Is there a goal you set? Leave it in the comments. I like to know what you guys do, because honestly, sometimes I don't really set the goals too much of, oh, I want to make this much, I want to make that. It's more, oh, I just feel like I'm going to go drive around. I need to make some money. I don't care what I make. I just need to make some money because I got to pay this or I got to pay that. But then a lot of times too, it's like, man, I really need to take a day off, but I can't because I got to go drive. I got to go drive. And it's so hard. It's weird because it's so hard for me to take a day off. And when I worked at the restaurant, all that stuff before I did Uber, I'd always had days off. And I used to love having a day off. Sometimes I'd be bored. I wish I'd be at work just because I had nothing else to do. I was like, I'd rather be making money. But with Uber, it's almost like an addiction to where you feel like if you're not driving, you're almost lazy. Or at least I feel like that sometimes. But then a lot of times now when I'm not driving, I'm editing videos or doing school. So I'm kind of busy and I'm kind of like, I got to take the time off because I got to get this stuff done. But it forces me still to either work later or work earlier or go back out and work. So it really causes a lot of stress, and it's actually unwanted stress. And it's really crazy when I sat back and did this episode and thought about this stuff, that it's really true. Sometimes it's really just hard not to work. So it's said that about 67 to 75% of new drivers quit within the first year. Only like 5% actually work more than a year. And then some people take time off, maybe go part-time. Those might be older numbers, but honestly, as the rides get cheaper, I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers might even be higher, because you might think, well, I still see all these people driving around with Uber signs. I still have no problem ordering a ride. Well, you don't realize how big of a population there is and how many new people sign up every day. And if new people sign up every day and work just a year, that extends pretty long time. You're still going to have a whole lot of new people, because you're going to have new people that come with the age requirements, new people that maybe can pass a background check for whatever reason, maybe new people that their ticket, stuff like that's gone. You know, little things like that makes new people actually eligible to drive for Uber or Lyft. You are really just a number when it comes to Uber and Lyft, but that's what I'm trying to talk about. They use that psychological manipulation to keep us working. Really, that's called like a forward dispatch. And somebody had said something about that in one of my other videos with the airport. But the forward dispatch is basically what they used to get us to keep staying on the road. So you know when you don't use my pause techniques with the coffee cup, or you don't use that stop new request, but you know before you get to drop off the ride that you have, that you're going to get request after request. If you don't accept it, you're going to get another one. If you don't accept it, you're going to get another one. Every time when I go to the airport and I drop somebody off, I usually don't pause it then, because that way, at least once I get out of there, I get a ride immediately and I skip everybody. So that's why when I go to the airport, I like taking a ride or reservation, because I know that once I drop them off, if it's busy, I'm definitely going to get a ride. There are some times when it's not busy, I'll check it ahead with Gridwise to see what it's looking like, to see if it's going to be good or not. And most likely I'm going to get a ride. Every once in a while, not. But they'll literally send me 2 or 3 rides, especially if Amazon is busy. If it's one of those times when Amazon's shift change or whatever, Amazon's right there by the airport, so they're always needing rides. It's going to send me ride after ride after ride after ride. I literally have to decline until I get up to the airport, and then once I leave, they finally give me an actual airport trip. But that's what they call forward dispatch, and that's what they use to keep you on the road. Because think about it like this: if you stopped and dropped your passenger off and didn't have a ride, you'd be more apt to take a break, maybe go to the bathroom, maybe go get gas, or you might even think, oh, you know what, I got enough money, I think I might go home. But they know if they just send you another ride request, when you drop those people off, even if you were gonna go get something to eat, even if you were gonna go get gas, even if you were gonna go home, you're gonna still probably just take that ride and say, you know what, one more ride. That's what it always is. It's just one more ride. It's almost like an addiction, and that's what they try to do. They try to keep you just wanting one more ride. Just keep going so that they keep you on the road, because the longer they keep you on the road, it's more money they make. So what is the human cost to doing gig work? What is the mental health that it causes? Think about it. You're in isolation. Now, if you're doing deliveries and stuff, you're probably isolated because you don't have anybody to talk to except for some rude people at a restaurant or somebody texting you about where their food's at. Then it's a high stress situation. Now, you might be like me, you're not worried about a tier, but you're still worried about trying to make this much money, or is the airport busy? Is it worth driving up there? Do I want to drive over this area? Do I want to drive in that area? Should I work in St. Augustine? It is pretty stressful for really just all you have to do is just sign on and sign off. It's almost like it gets so complicated and it gets so intertwined with like trying to beat the algorithm that you're basically stressing yourself out over something that really should be just as simple as sign on, accept, decline, yes, no, but it's just not that simple, is it? And it almost drives you crazy in a sense, because it's like you're on a constant financial pressure. Like you're constantly stressed out about needing to make this, need to make that. Like if you're not stressed out about making money and doing Uber, then either you're doing it part-time or you're retired and you got some money. Because even though like I was making more money for a while, I actually stress more now than I did before, because I actually make less money. That's why I started doing YouTube. That's why I started doing advertising business. That's why I started going back to school, because I wanted to try to work myself into a different position where I didn't have to rely on driving, even though I like driving. Now, I thought about upgrading Uber Black. Eventually, I might do that. I'm not 100% positive, but I do know if I do that, I would actually do more private rides, because of the fact that I don't want to rely on Uber. It's definitely not going to do Uber Black and drive around with the app on doing that, because that's definitely not worth the money. And I learned that from some of the drivers when I did the interviews when I was at Orlando. But honestly, it's very crazy and stressful how this job that's so simple, that's so flexible, is actually so stressful. But I was making more money back then, but I was more worried about stupid stuff, about acceptance ratings, about cancellation ratings. And the crazy thing is this app, even though you shouldn't be worried about it, they make you worried about certain things in order to control you. That's why they do it, and that's the problem. Is instead of making it easy and just paying you money, they actually have to manipulate you to do stuff, to get you to do stuff in order so they don't have to pay you as little as possible and be able to charge the rider as much as possible. And it's sad to say, but the Uber effect, it really affects everybody. And it's not just Uber, it's Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, Spark, Amazon Flex. If you go on Reddit and you look at all those subreddits for all those things, every one of them has the same type of complaints. They're just different things. DoorDash, you're complaining about tips. They're complaining about the restaurants. Uber, you're complaining about passengers. You're complaining about Uber not paying you that much. You're complaining about a toll. Lyft's the same thing. Then you got Spark and Instacart. You're complaining about driver, or you're complaining about tips. You're complaining about orders. They're all the same type of stress we're all stressed out about. And it's all about nothing. Like, we're literally all working what should be a part-time job, which should just be, hey, I'm just trying to make some extra money. But because of that flexibility, because of that whole, I think I can make some money, I don't have to have a boss, I can work when I want, makes everybody gravitate to doing it, even though we complain so much. And then sometimes, honestly, it boils down to the fact that it's just hard to get a job. That's a lot of issues I had. I was working at the restaurant, but I wasn't making that much money. And then honestly, I was making more money doing Uber than I was making at the restaurant at the time. And I actually left there and did Uber full time. But then I actually stopped, went back, had a job interview at Seasons 52, and I actually turned it down. And the reason why I turned it down is because I started the advertising business. I didn't realize how tough it'd be to get the advertising business going. I was a little naive when it came to it. I've learned a lot since then, but it's part of the mistakes, part of life. But it did kind of suck because I was kind of like, I think that was a good opportunity. I kind of turned it down. But at the same time, sometimes you just got to go all in with what you believe you think is right. And whether it works out or not, well, time will tell. But I still keep at it. I still keep doing it. Yeah, it's stressed out. And then you know what? I stopped too after that. I forgot, but I stopped too after that. And I got a job, a sales job at a dealership. And I actually worked more hours, made less money doing that. And it was nothing but more stress. So I quit that. And really, that actually kind of put me more in the hole, because waiting for that draw, waiting for all that commission check that was really nothing. The amount of vehicles I sold and the commission check I got, either they robbed me, or yeah, I definitely don't want to work there, because I definitely wasn't making no money. I made more money Ubering than I was making at dealership, and I was actually doing pretty good with the sales. But that goes to show, like, sometimes we're doing this and we're getting stressed out because really ain't got much of another option. It's hard finding a job these days. Sometimes, depending on what field you're in, depending on what time of the year it is, what area, it could be hard to find a job. I got tons of experience in waiting tables. I got a sommelier certification. I've cooked. I've waited tables. I've bartended. I've worked there since I was 16 years old. I know everything about a restaurant. But trying to get a job at a restaurant right now, I don't know why, but it's almost impossible. A lot of it's due to AI. A lot of it's due to Indeed, fake jobs, whatever. But that's why I'm still doing Uber. That's why I started doing YouTube. That's why I started doing content creation. That's why I'm going to school for marketing, because I believe at some point in time, all this stuff will pay off and it's worth it. But that's part of my mental health, goes dealing with all this, because it's stressful. This time, I'm still stressed out. I'm still worried about doing this, doing that. I got to go do these rides. I got this reservation. But you know what? As long as I know, take days off if I can, or just take some time off to do the other little stuff I got to do, take the breaks. It's a balance, and sometimes it's hard to balance. But let me know in the comments. Do you guys take days off? I asked it earlier, but do you take days off? What days do you take off? How do you know when you're like, you know what? Do you set a goal for like a certain amount you got to make, or do you just work so many hours? I'd like to know, because my problem is I don't really set a goal and I don't really set hours. I just go do it, and then I figure out what if I make this much, or if I drive this much, if I get tired, whatever. But I got to get better at it. But let me know how you do it. I just wanted to break down this episode, kind of show you guys the Uber effect and how they manipulate us. They gamify it. They offer that flexibility. All these little things that sound good, but are they really good? Because at the end of the day, who's really driving the app? You or the app? That's the problem, right? Who's really driving? You or the app? Sometimes I'm thinking it's me, but honestly, sometimes it might be the app. So think about it. The next time that you see that notification about a good reservation and you feel that urge to just sign on, say, you know what, just one good reservation, I'll go drive a little bit before, a little bit after. Well, remember, that's not ambition talking, that's the algorithm talking. All right, the algorithm doesn't care about your back pain. The algorithm doesn't care about family time. The algorithm doesn't care about your mental health. The only thing the algorithm cares about is keeping you on the road. So always remember, who's really driving? Is it you or is it the app? That's a good question, isn't it? Sometimes I don't really know who it is. Sometimes it might be the app. Because I hate to say it, guys, but after doing this episode, I really do feel like my brain's rewired just because of the fact I could work more than I can actually work. And it's almost like it backfires because you think, you know what, I could work all this hours, I can multi-app, I can do this, I can make all this money, but at the end of the day, are you really making that much money? I don't know. Hope you guys had enjoyed this episode if it wasn't too long. But hey, like and subscribe. Don't forget about Gridwise, and I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.